Hi everyone, my name is Yannick Pelletier. I am a Swiss Grandmaster, and this video is part of my series Crush the King's Indian. But of course, when you want to win with white against the King's Indian, you also need to feel and need to know where the dangers may lie, because as I said in my introductory live stream, I mentioned that the black attack in the King's Indian can be very strong, and the following game, which I would like to take a look at in this video, is a perfect illustration of hidden threats, hidden ideas for black when he develops his attack against the white king. This game was played in 1997 in the German Bundesliga. This is a team event between two very experienced grandmasters. White is Lubomir Ftacnik, black is Onion Cvitan. Cvitan is a King's Indian lover. He's just a great player in the King's Indian. Even though in the past years, because this game was played more than 20 years ago, but then he has more or less switched from the King's Indian to other openings because, well, he didn't really want to face the bayonet attack with black, so he switched. But of course, taking a look at his games in the King's Indian is very useful if you want to learn it as black. So here we go: d4, knight f6, knight f3, g6, c4, bishop g7, knight c3, castle, e4, d6, bishop e2, e5, castle, and knight c6. We are in the classical main line where black plays knight c6. Thus, by doing this move, he gives white a tempo to close the center and take some space, but this is also what black wants to have. After d5, knight e7, the center is closed, as I said, and both camps can start launching their own attack on the side of the board where they're superior. White on the queen side and black on the king side. Here Ftacnik played knight d2, knight e8, b4, f5, and here c5. Well, this is just typical moves in white's plans. He wants to redevelop his knight to c4, and then he will be able to press on d6. He will also obviously play a4, perhaps if he can b5, and try to break open the queen side. White's offensive there is faster than black's attack on the king side. But of course, we should never forget that the stakes are higher on the king side, because white's king is there on g1. He is the object of black's attack. Knight f6. Just a small detail here. Black would like to play f4, then g5, and so on, and launch the attack. But as long as the pawn is still on f2, playing f4 is premature, because white has bishop g4 here. He can play this move and exchange the most important attacking piece of black here. That's the white squared bishop. So we're gonna see that a bit later in the game. Knight f6, f4 now. Now that f3 has been played, black closes the center. Knight c4, g5, a4, knight g6. In this opening, in this line, I actually quite like and I prefer the development of the bishop to f2. Well, this is the topic of other Crush the King's Indian videos, which I'm going to take a look at. So I'm gonna just stick to the game here, where Ftacnik played actually the more normal plan, the universal plan, to play bishop a3, so that this bishop is going to exert pressure here against d6. Rook f7, b5, d takes c5. White was already threatening to take there on d6, so d takes c5, bishop takes c5, and h5 is coming here. Well, in these situations, I usually quite like to try and open the center. Playing d6, my pieces are better placed for the center, so d6 looks like a very decent approach here, but Ftacnik played a5, which is absolutely fine as well. g4, b6. You know, both camps basically don't really care about what the other is doing on the other side, so they just shove their pawns through down the board, and black is there already with g3 as well. g3, now we can see several threats already appearing, especially the knight here can go somewhere, next move, perhaps even to d7 to attack the bishop, and then the path will be open for the queen to h4 when it's going to be a mate on h2. And the thing is, the reason why this bishop here is so important in the attack is that h3 will never really work. You will always have some sort of sacrifices here on h3 with by the bishop, or first on g2 with the knight. And we're also going to see in the game why this bishop is so important. So here white played the best move. King h1, he is actually ready to drop back the bishop to g1, and that's what we're going to see soon. Knight h7, d6, now he's breaking the center open. He would like really to exchange queens, so if black actually takes on d6, the white queen is going to take back here on d6, and that's going to be good for white. Queen h4 and bishop g1. That was the basic defensive idea of white by playing king h1 to be able to retreat the bishop there. So here, in case g takes h2 happens, white plays bishop f2. He doesn't take back on h2. This pawn on h2 actually is a shield for white's king. Without this pawn there would be more open files. Here the pawn is actually a protector of the white king, preventing some sort of ideas. And by playing bishop f2, basically white expels the black queen. Next move he's going to take on c7, and he's going to be basically winning. Well, c takes d6 is also cooperative. Here knight takes d6, hitting the rook with the knight, and we have all sorts of possibilities like queen d5 later on. So here as well white is more or less winning. And finally c takes b6 here, then white would take back a takes b6, and after knight g5 would have something like rook takes a7, rook b8, and bishop d3. This is a little move, this bishop d3, which is quite important because it frees the second rank for the queen, or perhaps even for the rook, coming back to a2. Defending g2 will be crucial to stop and kill black's attack. Here as well, white is clearly better. Well, Cvitan played bishop h3, and I actually know Cvitan pretty well, and he told me afterwards that he had already been able to win with this very same trick in many rapid or blitz games, which are not recorded, which are not in databases. So he knew this idea of bishop h3, and here he went for it. Bishop h3, what a move! Well, the question is actually, which certainly Ftacnik was asking himself, is, okay, the bishop is on h3, but I'm not forced to take it. Does black have any threat here? Does he want to mate me? Well, he probably didn't believe there was any threat, so he decided to ignore the bishop. And this actually proved lethal. This was the fatal mistake. Actually, white could secure a clear advantage here by taking this bishop. G takes h3. He thought this would lead to unnecessary complications. After queen takes h3, of course, black threatens mate, in one move, not to g1, but just g3, g2. This would be mate. But here, white can simply afford to give up the rook by playing rook f2, stopping this mating threat. And there is not so much black can do to reinforce his attack now, because the queen can be expelled very easily by bishop f1, or even perhaps queen f1. Suffice it to say, if the queen has to go away, then the attack is not very strong anymore. So here, black could take on f2, bishop takes f2, and the material balance is in black's favor. Actually, he's an exchange up. He's won a rook against a piece, but the main point here is that black's attack is dead. He has no more idea to attack. The bishop has been given up. The white squared bishop has disappeared. White can chase away the queen with bishop f1, or again perhaps queen f1. More important, white's attack on the queen side is still in full swing. There is a very strong pawn here on d6, and if black takes it, then knight takes d6, and I can't really see here how black is going to avoid losing part of material which he has won. Besides here, white has a chance to create a very advanced, far advanced passed pawn by taking on c7 or a7 next. So in other words, white is clearly better, but of course there is still some work to do for white to pack things up here. Instead of this, Ftacnik thought, why not take immediately on c7? There is no threat here. But he was mistaken, and here Cvitan played what I believe to be one of the most beautiful mating combinations I've ever seen. He sacrificed on g2. Bishop takes g2 check. White has to take it. And still we can wonder what's gonna happen now. Because if knight g5, threatening queen h3, well, here again rook f2 can happen. And, well, the mate is more or less parried. He's parried actually, and here again white is just more or less winning. But he hadn't seen queen h3 check. This is the devastating and so beautiful queen sacrifice. The king is lured outside. King takes h3. Of course, if he goes back to h1, it's mate immediately with g2, the way we've seen it before. So king takes h3, and now knight g5 check. The king has to go back to g2, and knight h4 check. In this position, Ftacnik resigned. Well, it's mate on the next move, we can show it. King h1, g2, mate Thmathers. Mate's in a way a beautiful picture for the end of the game here. And after knight h4, it dawned on Ftacnik that, well, he had actually blundered. There was a hidden threat here after bishop h3 on move 22. There was this hidden mating threat, all forced. So white should pay attention, and this is a main quality you need to have when playing with white in the classical King's Indian. Really pay attention. Try and find your opponent's threats, because they can be hidden, but very, very swift and strong. I hope you enjoyed this video. If this is the case, just like and subscribe, and I'm gonna see you soon in another video on the King's Indian. Thank you very much for your attention.